Hey, what's going on guys? Clank Gamer here, and welcome back to another video, and yes, I know, it's been forever since I posted my last one, and if you have a problem with that, I do not care. Judge me all you want. I got stuff to do, I got things to do, I got my own life. Okay, and today, again, we're going to do another tier list video, and based on killers with good teachable perks. Again, S tier, all 3 perks are good, D tier, all 3 perks are terrible, A, B, and C, I'll explain later on. Alright, and again, this includes the latest killer, the Unknown, which I haven't tried yet, but I have seen his perks, and he looks and again, they're decent, but I'll get to him later. Okay, start off, Trapper. He's 3 perks. They're not that bad. They're not that bad, but they're not that good. Well, some of them are situational. Well, I'm just gonna. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Why am I stalling? Okay, 3 perks. First off is Agitation. Again, Agitation is a situational perk. It increases the movement speed while you're carrying a survivor. Essentially, when you down a survivor and you pick them up, you're carrying them. You get a movement speed increase, and your terror radius increases by 12 meters. In practice, or in theory, in most cases, it's a bad perk. Like, you don't really want to have a bigger terror radius, but the movement speed is good, especially if survivors are running boil over, which does hinder your walking speed while carrying. But the bigger terror radius isn't entirely beneficial. There are some perks that synergize well with the bigger terror radius, such as Ultimate Weapon, Starstruck, and I believe that's it. Yeah, Ultimate Weapon and Starstruck, which benefit really well from it, but really it's not really good. It's only Agitation's only good in meme builds, so again, it's not a really good build to start off. Brutal Strength is reasonably good, especially for like a simple perk. Essentially, every time you break a pallet, a wall, or a generator, those actions are done 20% faster. It's especially good in chase, and if you pair well with a killer who's good with chasing, like I don't know, like Wraith, and especially in invisibility, where his movement is buffed, Brutal Strength is really good. Unnerving Presence, it's not really that good at all. It's a niche perk. It's only good in like builds, impossible skill check builds with Doctor. So 2 niche perks, 1 decently good perk. Yeah, it's Trapper's in B tier. His perks don't really help out with him, and his power is not really that good. He really any updates the developers give him to try and make him good, it's just not going to help. Like it's hard to sort of make him better. All right, up with Wraith. Oh boy, Wraith. Again, if I remember my tier list video on how good his powers were, his perks are just downright terrible. And I'm just gonna put him right in D tier, just right in D tier. Like all of them are just downright terrible. And Bloodhound, essentially, he blood pools from injured survivors are brighter than normal, and they last 4 seconds longer, which being honest, it's not really that good. Like the most usually, if you're gonna be finding survivors, you're mostly gonna be looking for their scratch marks, and you're gonna be trying to hear like their groans of pain. If you're looking for blood trails, it's just not a good idea. Plus, there are many perks that survivors had that can mitigate showing blood in the first place, so it's just a terrible idea in the first place. Predator, just as bad, and from looking at it, it does sound like it's good, saying scratch marks left by survivors spawn closer together. It does sound good, but in reality, it actually is worse. Because if scratch marks are more closer together, and the survivor starts to go off the hook, or you don't know where they went, scratch marks that are more spread out can reveal where they are. So scratch marks that are closer are actually a hindrance rather than a buff. And Shadowborn, it with now having a different effect than it used to be. What it used to have before before the FOV slider in the game is that it increases your FOV. But now since we have an FOV slider, it's now been changed. Every time you've been blinded, you gain haste for 10 seconds, which it does sound good, but really in practice it's not really a good idea, especially if survivors are just going to be blinding you every single second and you lose track of them. You're not going to really make up that speed anyways, and plus it's they're most likely going to be flashlighting you when you're picking up a survivor, so that speed boost is just wasted. It's terrible. All these perks are terrible. he's not a good killer to actually level up in the first place for his perks. Right, Hillbilly. Okay. Okay, just say this A tier. A tier. Enduring, his first perk, it's amazing. Any pallet stun you receive, it's cut in half. I do not remember how long a pallet stun lasts for, but whatever it is, it's cut in half with enduring. Really good in chase, especially when you pair it with Spirit Fury. Like, being honest, if you're gonna use Spirit Fury, you have to use enduring. And I will touch on what Spirit Fury does later when I get to Spirit. His next perk is a little bit niche, Lightborn. With Lightborn, you're immune to all flashlights or blinding of any source, whether it be flashlights, flashbangs, or blast mines, or the occasional firecracker you have it. And whenever Survivor tries to blind you by those methods, you see the aura for 10 seconds. Again, it's a good idea, but how often are you going to be seeing survivors with flashlights and all that? Like, if you see a full four-man squad with this perk is literally destroying them. You literally, if they're gonna troll you with four flashlights, you control them with a full Lightborn. And I sometimes put lethal pursuer on just to track them even further. Full wall hacks, maybe. But yeah, it's a niche perk. It's mostly just a troll perk. It's not really meta breaking. And Tinkerer, it's a really good perk. Like, it's not as powerful as it used to be in like its early stages. So what it does, when a generator gets to 70% progression, you not only get a notification of which generator it is, but you also gain undetectable for the next, well, I maxed here, 16 seconds. And undetectable means you have no terror radius, no heartbeat. So the survivors will not know if they're coming up towards you. And this was broken, quite like when it first released, because it could have been activated multiple times on one generator. So if you broke the generator and went to less than 70%, survivors repaired it again, and over 70, you gain undetectable again. But now they balanced it, so it only triggers once per generator per trial, so it's not as powerful as it used to be, but it's still reasonably good in knowing which gens to keep pressure on. Alright, Nurse. Okay. If you if you remember my tier list video of how powerful killers were, Nurse was an easy S tier, but Nurse, she's a B tier at least for her perks. Nurse's calling is good because again it reveals the auras of survivors who are healing others or being healed within 28 meters at max range. It is quite good, but again it's really mostly good for ranged killers who have either small tear radiuses or if you're able to be undetectable, because this is more of a perk that this is more of an ambush perk. A Nurse's Calling is more of an ambush type of perk. So if you're not a ranged killer like a Pyramid Head or Executioner as the game calls him, or well Nurse or Michael Myers or anyone who's able to go undetectable, you won't really use this perk to its full potential. But it is good for information to know where survivors could be even if you're just a normal basic killer. It is good to know where survivors are even when they're healing. You can almost keep tabs on them, but you won't use the full potential. Strider, it's not really too good with most killers. So what it does, it increases the volume of survivors' grunts of pain by at least 50% at max, and increases the volume of their regular breathing by 25%. Like, this is one of the only perks that ever does that, actually. This is one of the only perks that either interacts with survivors' grunts of pain and their breathing sounds. Like, I think there's only one add-on. There's one add-on out of the entire killer add-on set that increases either the grunts of pain or the breathing, and I think that's for Huntress. I might do an add-on tier list later on, but that might take forever, God knows what. But yeah, Strider, it's really not good. It's really not good with almost every single killer. But with Spirit, it does help. It does help, especially when you're in your phasing form. And again, I think I did put Spirit in S tier because the phasing is just downright is really powerful. And adding Strider to that, your hearing is literally jacked up to 1,000,000%, so you can literally pinpoint where survivors are. So for Spirit, it's really good, but everyone else is just Terrible. It's another niche perk. And Thanatophobia. In a nutshell, this perk benefits if you're able to injure people really, really fast. Like again, same with like some killers like Nurse, uh, Wraith, or even Legion. Because for each dying, injured, or hooked survivor, the survivors receive a 2%, this is at max, a 2% penalty to repairing, sabotaging, and cleansing up to a maximum of 8. And it's further increased by 12%, so a 20% debuff to repairing, sabotaging, and cleansing if all of them are injured, dying, or hooked at the same time. Again, it sounds like a lot once you get there, but survivors are able to bypass that. It can be good if you're able to keep up the pressure, but if you really can't, it doesn't really do a lot. It's sort of a one-trick pony, really, or I don't know what you call it, but it's niche. If you can't keep the pressure, sort of with Legion, it or Wraith, you're not going to really be doing a lot with the perk. With Thanatophobia, it's just downright terrible. All right, Michael Myers, all with a shape. Yeah, all these perks are, be honest, downright terrible. Well, the one perk that did make him good, Save the Best for Last, has been nerfed. So again, it's still reasonably good. I'll still put him in B tier. Uh, Essentially, all of his perks focus on the obsession, as if you do know, what one survivor out of the four is selected as the obsession, which is like a weird like claw thing around their survivor icon. I don't know what you would call it, but yeah, it's that. And his first one, Dying Light, is reads as this: each time you hook a survivor other than your obsession, you gain a token. So this perk revolves around not going for your obsession. As for long as the obsession is alive, all other survivors suffer for a 3% stackable penalty to repairing, healing, and sabotaging speed up to a maximum of 33%. So 11 tokens. You can gain 11 tokens with this perk. And the obsession is unaffected by this perk, but the obsession gets a 33% action speed to unhooking and healing. So this perk, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Because not only you're not going for the obsession, but the obsession gets a huge buff, a decently huge 33% faster healing and unhooking is really, really good. Because every time you injure a survivor, they can just unhook faster, heal them faster, and you're shooting yourself in the foot because you're not really getting any pressure when on injuries. So it really isn't a good perk to even use. It's terrible. I would never use it myself. Oh, but if you have to use it, just you have to use it in an adept Michael challenge. It's terrible. Play with your food. Again, it does again centers around the obsession, but it involves chasing them in some. I'm just gonna explain. So with each time you chase the obsession but let them escape, you gain a token up to a maximum of 3. So essentially, you have to be terrible at chasing when it comes to the obsession. For each token, you gain 5% haste. So at max tokens, you get 15% haste. But whenever you perform a basic or a special attack, or just attack by any means that can damage a survivor, you lose a token. So you lose your speed. It does sound like a good idea if you have killers that can insta down, such as again Michael Myers in tier 3, or I guess would Trickster benefit from this perk? I think maybe some ranged killers may benefit from this, but I'm pretty sure that would count as a special attack. So no, it's just a bad perk overall because you just lose your speed immediately. So again, not a good perk. Wouldn't really use it unless you're just going for a speed build. And the reasonably only good perk from Michael, save the best for last. And this, again, it encourages you not to go for the obsession. Instead, you have to hit other survivors to gain tokens up to a maximum of 8. And for each token, you gain a minus 4% cooldown reduction on successful basic attacks. So every time you hit a survivor, you go into a weird cooldown phase, you look at your weapon. This perk for each token grants a 4% reduction to that cooldown time. So for each token, you're 4% faster on that weapon look animation, up to a maximum of 32. Again, this used to be a 5% cooldown, so up to a maximum of 40%, but again, still 32% max is still good. But the real banger is this next part. Whenever you hit your obsession with a basic or special attack, you lose 2 tokens. And when the obsession is sacrificed or killed, save the best at last, as freezes on its current token counter. How this perk used to function is that whenever you hit your obsession with a basic attack, your normal M1 attack, or whatever your controller is, I don't know, I'm not going to say anything, but with a normal basic attack, you will lose 2 tokens, but nothing about special attacks. So if you had killers like, I don't know, Xenomorph, like the Xenomorph, or Huntress, or any ranged killer, you'll be able to easily save your stacks. And once you got those stacks, you can kill your obsession, like tunnel them out of the game, and keep your now 40 or 32% cooldown reduction. So yeah, it was a really strong perk, but it's sort of been nerfed into the ground. It's still decent, but again, it's not as powerful as it used to be. Alright, moving on to Hag. Okay. Hag. Okay. Being honest, all her perks is not really that bad. Again, they're all hex perks, so you can easily claim them. But I would still put them in. I would put them in A tier, really. Like, okay, first one, Devour Hope. This perk, again, this perk is sort of good in a sense. It encourages you not to like camp the hook. But again, it's usually good with killers who are able to like get far away from the hook easily. Again, like Demogorgon, Nurse, and Xenomorph, Spirit, or hell even Oni. Yeah. Each time a survivor is rescued from a hook, while you're at least 24 meters away, so almost like 2/3 of your terror radius away, you receive a token up to a maximum of 5 tokens. Again, this is a perk that builds up. And just the main problem with this perk, it's hard to get up to the max tokens, which is again is 5. Effects only start kicking in at 2 tokens, where 10 seconds after hooking a survivor, you gain a 5% haste for like 10 seconds at max tier. Again, that doesn't sound like much, but once you get to 3 tokens and onwards, things get deadly. At 3 tokens, all survivors suffer from a permanent exposed status effect, so they're able to be insta-downed from healthy to dying. And at 5 tokens, you can kill the survivors by your own hand, essentially, or Mori them, if you know what a Mori is. Again, really good perk, really good power. The only downside is, since it's a hex and it's on a totem, it's able to be cleansed or blessed. And if that happens, the effects are gone. And it would only be on the survivor's radar once the 3rd token kicks in. So this perk is a high risk, high reward once you get that 3rd token. So you need to be playing your cards right, and hopefully RNG will not screw you over of where your totem spawns. Okay, next one, Hex Ruin. I would say this perk it's decent, and actually it is actually really good now since gen regression has been modified now. But how it used to be in like before, in like I think a few patches ago, that whenever a generator is not being repaired by a survivor, it will immediately and automatically regress on its own at the normal pace. But it would only deactivate once a survivor dies. I'm glad the developers sort of reworked this and said it would only be like it would only be destroyed once the totem is cleansed, which I'm sort of glad they put back in because, being honest, it's a lot more challenging now. But again, this perk was a whole lot better. I don't know, like I think at least a couple of years ago, when instead of 100% the normal regression, it was 200%. So if you were not repairing, the regression was double the speed. So instead of losing like 1 charge per second, you will lose 2 charges per second. I don't know how fast the regression is, but that's how it used to be. But now they've nerfed it all to 100, which it's still decent, especially with how gen regression works now. So yeah, it's a decent perk now. Hexed's third seal. At max tier, the last four survivors you hit are blinded. Essentially, they cannot see auras. It sounds like a good it sounds like a good idea, but again, it only works in good situations. Like if you're in an indoor map and things are easily to be distorted, it really shines there. Like there are a couple of I think like Michael Myers builds where you can literally just absolutely destroy people with. I might put that in the description, I might not, but it's up to you to find out. The guy I'm talking about is called Demi, and he has a bunch of builds you can just try out if you want, as long as you have the killers and the perks. But yeah, again, it's a hex. You can cleanse it through the totem. It's just once you're hit with this, don't expect to see any auras. Again, it's decent. It's a decent perk. It's not great, but it's enough to put Hag in the A tier for her perks. All right, Doctor. Mm, yeah, his perks aren't really that good. Are they really good actually? Yeah, two of his perks aren't really that good. One is decent. Again, another B tier. First one, monitoring abuse. It increases the base value of your terror radius by at least 8 meters for the entire trial. So I'm pretty sure his terror radius is 32. Yep, 32. And what this perk increases it all the way up to 40. I'm pretty sure. Yep, increases up to 40. And while in chase, it reduces your terror radius by 16 meters. So you go from 40 all the way to 24 meters. Again, it's not really a good idea. It's it can it's sort of hard to say. It could be a decent perk, especially with Doctor, because again, his entire power relies on having a big terror, yes. In but the thing is, if you're not in chase with a survivor, you have a lower terror radius, and with Doctor, that is a significant nerf. With Doctor, you need to have a giant terror radius, because that's what helps you. And with many killers that have a big terror radius, having a big terror radius actually helps them in the long run. Especially on small maps, it can distort survivors or where you could actually be. On like huge maps, that's a whole different story. But killers with like a small terror radius, this could benefit them, but really it's not really an ideal perk I would use. Overcharge. This this perk is actually decent. So how it activates? When you damage a generator, it applies the overcharge mechanic. And the next time a survivor interacts with it, they get a very difficult skill check. And if they fail that skill check, the generator begins begins to regress instantly, and it loses 4% of the maximal progression in addition to the default progression penalty. So what that means is the normal default penalty for failing a skill check, then add 4% of the maximum progression there is on the gen. So it really takes off a lot of gen progression if you decide to fail it. And if it's and the thing is, if overcharge is left on a gen and not touched, the regression speed, which starts off at 85%, bumps up to 30 for over 130 for over the next 30 seconds. So it's a slow build up to faster regression. Well, slightly faster, but again, it is beneficial. It does knock off a good chunk if survivors are clumsy. It's the only decent perk there is. And then overwhelming presence, it's a terror radius based perk, so whenever survivors use an item within your terror radius, the the rate of how they use their item is like increased by like 80, 90, or 100%. So if it's a toolbox, it is. If it's again a full toolbox squad on doing gen rushing, it is good because it uses up their toolbox charges fast. It is good with medkits as well. It does like deplete the amount of time people could use for healing, but other items, it's just not really good at all. Again, yes, flashlights do deplete faster, but again, the flashlights don't really last that long, really. Like toolboxes and medkits are the real big deal, the real nerfs, nerfed items from this perk. But again, and it's not really that much anyways, because like survivors can still just find other tools around the map from chests, or they have perks that can actually regain those charges, or even decrease the depletion rate of certain items. So yeah, not really that good. Huntress. Let's be straightforward. Most of her perks are terrible. The only good one is the only niche one is Huntress Lullaby, but she's a very harsh C tier. With Huntress, again, as I said, perks are just downright terrible, except for one that could technically be decent. Technically be decent. Well, actually, two that could be technically decent, if depending if survivors run the new Sable ward perks, which rely on the basement. But I'll get to that in a second. All right, the first one, Beast of Prey. Never use unless you're going to be farming blood points. So this perk activates upon gaining Bloodlust in a chase. What Bloodlust does is that if you haven't chased a survivor, if you're chasing a survivor but haven't injured them or done anything for them, you slightly get faster. And once you gain that Bloodlust, you become undetectable. So no heartbeat, no terror radius, all of that. And you gain 50% more bonus blood points for actions in the Hunter category, which, again, sounds like a good idea. But the thing is, once you've maxed out the category for Hunter, you don't go over. Again, there used to be two perks that literally allow you to go over that blood point cap, but those have been nerfed into the ground. May we remember the old We're Gonna Live Forever and Barbecue and Chili. May we remember those perks. They were amazing perks. Great blood point gains. Why did the devs nerf them? So yep, Beast of Prey sucks. Never use it unless you're doing it in a dev challenge. Huntress Lullaby. Again, another situational perk that, again, only goes in certain builds. And again, one downside, it's a hex perk, so it can easily be cleansed if found early or put on survivors' radars. And the following effects are in place. Survivors failing a skill check instantly regress the generator by 6% by 6% of its progression plus the additional penalty. So again, similar to overcharge, but with the 6% additional penalty. And this same effect also adds on to healing, so it's overcharge plus on generators and healing. But this grows in strength every time you gain a token, with up to a maximum of 5 tokens. And each token is gained through hooking a survivor. And for each token, the warning queue and the skill check appearing on both the repair and generator on the repair and healing skill checks are altered. So for the first token, it's a 14% like reduction or 40% like delay. For 2 tokens, it's 28%. 3 tokens, 42. 4, 56%. And yes, it is noticeable. It does throw you off guard. But at the 5th token, there is no warning sound or warning cue of when the skill check appears. So you have to base it all on your visual information and reflexes. Again, at max potential, it's a good perk, but in practice, it's only good for impossible skill check builds, just because of the amount of the penalty for missing and failing a skill check. So again, not really that good. Territorial Imperative. Whenever you are further than 24 meters from the basement, when a survivor enters it, you see the aura of the survivor who just entered for 6 seconds, and then it goes on cooldown for 45 seconds. With the new perks coming out, it can be good, but the fact that it's on a 45-second cooldown, it nerfs it a lot. And if survivors are constantly going to the basement over and over again, you won't be able to pick up on that. And even before like this latest chapter of Savile Ward and the Unknown, it's just really not a good perk in general. Like the only killers that would really benefit from this is like the Hag, the Nurse, or even the Demogorgon, who's just trying to camp kills in the basement. So again, not really a good set of perks to work with, and not a really good set of perks to offer. Alright. Hey Bubba or the Cannibal. Again, two of these perks are niche, but one perk is just really, really good. Okay, so again, B tier for me. And why is my mouse glitching out all of a sudden? Okay, first perk, best perk, one of the best perks I can save so far. Barbecue and chili. After hooking a survivor, all survivors who are at least at max tier 40 meters away from a hook have the auras revealed for 5 seconds. Again, this may not sound like a lot, but it does mean a lot. So imagine this: you hook a survivor and you see two auras of survivors left in the trial. You know that at least from over 40 meters away, there are two survivors doing whatever. But you also know there's one close by. There's one at least almost in your terror radius, most likely. So if you have a perk like Ultimate Weapon, open a locker, and just go around the hook and try and find that survivor. Get them easily. So again, if you're mainly using this perk for the information it gives you, you're using it wrong. Use it. Don't only use it for the information it gives you. Use it for the information it also doesn't give you. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Franklin's Demise. A niche perk. Another one. No surprise, but for every basic attack, for every M1 attack you impact on a survivor holding an item, they drop it. And if they don't pick it up within 90 at max tier, 90 seconds, all charges will be depleted. And you see the auras of them within 32 meters, and it would slowly fade from white to red, depending on how much time has elapsed. It does sound like a good perk, but really, you don't really want to concern yourself on items a lot. Like, the only killer can really shine from this perk is the Hag, because with how the Hag works, you can hit the survivor, make them drop their items, and then trap the item. So like what? Like draw a hex on it. So if they try to get it, you can just teleport back to the hex or the trap when they trigger it. So you permanently lock their item away from them. Again, it does sound like a good idea, but not many killers can benefit from the perk. And plus, you really don't want to be focusing on items. You want to be focusing on actual defending the generators and actually, hooking the survivors. You don't want to be focusing on depleting their items. Knockouts, and again, decent, well, niche perk really. And again, it's all based on putting survivors into the dying state through basic attacks. So once that happens, if their aura from being downed will be revealed to any survivor who is further than 6. Actually, no, sorry. Wait, let me rephrase that. Whenever you put a survivor into the dying state with your basic attack, like survivors that are 16 meters away at max tier will not see their aura. And for the next 15 seconds, the downed survivor would have a reduced field of view (FOV) and will be deafened. Well, the sound will be muffled. They will suffer from the blindness status effect, so no auras, and their crawling speed is reduced by 50%, and recovery speed is reduced by 25%. Again, not really a good perk. It's I don't really know how it would work in any builds. It's just a sort of worthless niche perk. So yeah, I'll say B tier he goes. Freddy Krueger or the Nightmare. Yes. Again, his perks aren't really that good. One is niche, but it requires you to fail. But so C tier for him. All right, start off first one. Blood Warden. It It activates as soon as the exit gate opens. It activates. So, as I said, if as soon as one exit gate is open and that end game timer starts, it activates. The auras of survivors within the exit gate area is revealed to you, and once per trial, only once, hooking a survivor while the perk is active, it will block the exit gates for all survivors for 60 seconds. 60 seconds, a whole minute. I have seen videos of people really gaining value of Blood Warden. And again, it does sound enticing. But really, it all depends on you doing bad in the trial. It's a second chance perk. It's a second chance perk, and if survivors are easily able to pick this up, if they're able to pick up that you have Blood Warden, they're just gonna leave. They're not gonna stay back and try and help the survivor you just downed, because they know they're gonna be trapped for at least a full minute, where you could probably hook them within that minute. If this was used if this had multiple uses, this would be overpowered. This will be in every single endgame build, or just almost every build in that fact. If the build doesn't have to be good, as long as you can use Blood Warden multiple times, if it was able to, it would be in every build. But since it's only once, and it's, being honest, really terrible, and really shows how terrible you are. So sorry to say the truth, but it's not really a good perk to even start off. Next one, Fire Up. Again, similar to Blood Warden, it sort of relies on you doing bad, or sort of like, again, losing your objective. So, because for each time a generator is completed, you gain a token, up to a maximum of 5. Again, 5 generators, 5 tokens. And each token, you get a stackable buff of 4%, and a 4% increase to action speed of picking up and dropping survivors, breaking pallets, walls, and generators, and vaulting windows. So, the more the more shit you are in defending these generators and making sure they're not regressing, you become better in some way. Again, it does sound good, but really, do you really have to sacrifice a lot of ground, like a lot of gens, essentially being bad at hooking survivors just to hook them in the end game? It's an end game. It's pretty much an end game or a mid game perk that would only shine during then. It's not a good game perk to start off the trial with. And remember me, again, this one already takes place in the end game as well, or when the exit gates aren't open. So whenever the obsession loses a health state by any means, remember me gains 1 token. And each token increases the gate opening time by 6 seconds up to a maximum of 24, which affects both exit gates, for any survivor that is not the obsession. The obsession is immune from this penalty, but any other survivor has to take another 24 seconds if you must get the match tokens. So, in short, this perk encourages tunneling. Yes, it encourages tunneling, which I'm not really against, but why? Why would you tunnel someone who probably just had a bad day and wanted to just play a game just to activate a niche perk, which, being honest, it's not really good. No Way Out is a better perk than this. No Way Out is a better exit gate denier than this perk. So, yeah, Freddy sucks, his perk sucks, and we shall move on to the Pig, or Amanda Young, if you know Saw or Jigsaw or any other franchise, which I do, and hopefully some of you do. And yeah, two perks are reasonably good. One's niche, so I'd say A tier. Make your choice. Again, unlike Remember Me, this discourages tunneling. So each time a survivor rescues another survivor from a hook, when you're 32 meters away, a full 10 radius away, Make Your Choice activates. The rescuer screams and becomes exposed for 1 full minute. Yes, 1 full minute, 60 seconds. They are able to be insta-downed. That easy. The perk then goes on cooldown for 60 seconds after that. So it's a really good perk, especially if it's not the only bad thing is if you're on a small map or if survivors are farming the unhooks, it's going to be hard to activate this perk. But it has really good value. So Make Your Choice is good. It's a good value perk, especially with high mobility killers, which is, I think, is at least 1/3 of the killer base. But even with killers that aren't high mobility, it's still really good. So I would recommend using it if you're able to get like high mobility killers like Wraith or Nurse. Just remember, special attacks do not have any effects on insta downs. You need to do a basic attack for it to actually work. Next one, Scourge Hook, Hangman's Trick. Being honest, even though I've read this perk so many times, I still barely understand what the hell it's supposed to do. But to recap, to do it, Scourge Hooks, what Scourge Hooks are, 4 random hooks within the trial are transformed into Scourge Hooks, and these are hooks where the killer sees in like a white aura or a white glow. But yes, and so yeah, the auras of Scourge Hooks are revealed to you in white, and you receive a loud noise notification whenever a survivor starts sabotaging a hook. And while carrying a survivor, the auras of all survivors within 12 meters of you of a Scourge Hook are revealed to you. How this perk used to be is like whenever survivor are sabotaging within 12 meters of any hook, they are revealed to you. But now since they've changed it to a Scourge Hook, it's only gone to a Scourge Hook, and this is one of the worst Scourge Hooks there is, because there actually is no effect to hooking survivor on a Scourge Hook in the first place. But it does help you, I guess, if you have another Scourge Hook perk, that if a survivor is going to sabotage a Scourge Hook, you could just go to another one, or just a normal hook, really. Again, this is one of the worst Scourge Hook perks there is. The other ones, even the mediocre ones, are just better than this. Do not run this perk at all. Surveillance, again, with the new way gens are regressing, this could actually be good. Whenever you kick a generator, regressing generators are revealed to you in white. Whenever the regression is interrupted, the generator will turn yellow, or the aura of the generator will turn yellow, and for 16 seconds. And you're also able to hear generators repairing noises from 8 meters more. I do not know what the default is, but with the new way gens are regressing, surveillance actually could be is actually a decent perk, because you actually have more time to react to when the generator is being worked on, because again, it only stops when the generator only highlights to yellow once progression is interrupted. And since you have to repair at least 5 charges for regression to stop, you have more time to react. So again, 2 really good or decent perks. One that's just absolutely terrible and with little to no niche, and which I would not recommend using at all. Alright, the Clown. Yeah, 8 here. Alright, 3 perks. 2 are really good, 1 is just downright niche. Again, Bamboozle. After vaulting a window, the entity blocks the window for 16 seconds. Yeah, this perk is a good chase perk, especially in the shack. And, again, blocked windows can be vaulted by survivors, and your general vaulting speed is increased by 15%. So not only do you vault faster, but you block the window, so you're able to corner survivors easily. And again, this perk is really good if survivors are going to be looping in shack. But keep in mind, Bamboozle only blocks 1 window at a time, and of course, it doesn't affect pallets. Okay, Chlorophobia. And yes, that is the actual name for fear of clowns. And again, this is a terror radius based perk, and whenever survivors heal within your terror radius, their healing speed is reduced by 50%. And the rotation speed of the healing skill checks, like the needle on the skill check, is increased by 50. So not only do survivors have slow healing speeds, but the healing skill checks are going to be not a lot difficult, but just a bit more difficult to handle. Again, this perk would only be good in terror radius based builds, which sort of nerfs healing. For that, I think Chlorophobia, Agitation, Chlorophobia, Distressing, and Unnerving Presence, those will really work well. But again, it's a niche perk, and really you're not going to really get too much value out of it, because survivors are usually going to have either med kits, or they could be healing with like other survivors on them. So the healing regression or the reduction is not really that good anyways. And Pop Goes the Weasel. Boy, how this perk really fell down from grace. Alright, start off. Whenever you hook a survivor, it activates for the next 45 seconds at max tier. Whenever you damage a generator, it instantly regresses, is losing 30% of its current progression, and then it regresses normally after that. So, Imagine this. The gen is at 99%. You somehow get the survivors off. And you've hooked a survivor beforehand. You kick the generator, and 30% of that progress gone. Just gone. And the generator starts regressing. This used to be a lot more broken than before it how it used to be. Because it used to be every time you kick a generator after hooking a survivor for the next 45 seconds, the generator regresses by 25% flat. Like 25% of the whole possible generator progress there is. Like, it doesn't matter if you had 10% of a generator done, it was all gone. This perk was so powerful, especially in a lot of gen regression builds. But again, they sort of nerfed it, and now it's only 30% of the current progress, which still powerful, and especially on gens that are almost completed. So yeah, Clown, a really good A tier. Spirit. And if you remember what I said earlier in the video, one of her perks goes really well with Hillbilly's Enduring, and yes, that is Spirit Fury. Spirit Fury is a really good perk in general, again, but it's usually a chase perk. So again, that's good. That's good with killers who are able to go to chase really well. The other two perks relatively niche, so she's in a B tier. All right, gonna go over Spirit Fury first, actually, because I'm gonna tell you why it's good with enduring. So after breaking at maximum tier, after breaking 2 pallets, the next time you are stunned by a pallet, it's instantly broken. However, the stun penalty for pallets is still applied. And if you see where I'm going with this, if a survivor drops a pallet on you and you have enduring and active Spirit Fury, the pallet's gonna break, you're gonna recover pretty much instantly, and you can easily get a free hit on the survivor. Yeah. So if you're a killer that's able to break pallets easily and literally he started chase easily, that combo is gonna make you unstoppable. It's a really good combo from two relatively niche decent perks that really help you with chase. All right, now for the niche ones. First of all, Hex Haunted Ground. And again, this is a Hex Totem, but unlike the other Hex Totems I've mentioned so far, and pretty much for the rest of the video, it spawns with 2 Hex Totems in the trial. When either of them is cleansed, all survivors suffer from the exposed status effect for 60 seconds. For 1 whole minute after one of them is cleansed, all survivors are exposed. Insta down. And the second Hex Totem will immediately turn dull. So it's a one-time use, really. Unless you have Undying, so you can have 2 Hex Haunted Grounds, which I would not recommend. Again, it's good for some like early game or mid game pressure if survivors were to find it. Just the only downside is if you don't know where they are once you do it, it does drop it down a lot, especially in the early game where you don't know where survivors are. But the value it does give can be beneficial, but the thing is, it's dependent whether you find survivors or not. So it does knock it down a bit. Rancor, it's some decent information, but again, not really good. Again, for each generator you complete, the following effects apply. The obsession, the survivor with like the claws around their survivor icon, sees your aura for 3 seconds, and you see all survivor locations for 3 seconds. And no, survivor locations are not survivor auras. Survivor locations are just similar to when you see a survivor scream, so it's not as good as you think. But once the ace gates are powered, you have the ability to Mori the obsession, and the obsession is permanently exposed. Again, this is just not a good perk. You're almost this perk incentivizes tunneling the obsession, especially in the end game. And thing is, if you kill your obsession or first, this perk is literally nothing. Like Again, the survivor seeing the survivor location for 2 seconds is terrible. It's not beneficial. Like I don't even remember any form of value I've got from this perk. Even when I was doing the adept challenge for spirit, it's just terrible. Like again, I would not run it under any circumstances other than an adept. So yeah, it's just downright terrible. All right, Legion. Again, uh, B tier. Again, one perk, really damn good. Two perks, just downright niche. Okay, first perk, and actually the best perk out of all of them, and a good tracking perk, well, information perk, Discordance. Whenever a generator within range of, at max tier, 128 meters, or being honest, anywhere on the map at this point, whenever a generator is being repaired by two or more survivors, it's marked in yellow. The aura is in yellow. And whenever the generator is first highlighted or marked by yellow, you get a loud noise notification. When the gen is no longer within range, or well, being honest, it's most likely going to be in range, or if it's not being repaired by just one survivor, the aura will linger for another 4 seconds, and then go back to normal. Again, a really good information perk. It shows you where survivors are grouped up together and knows which gen could have more progression. Early game, it is good if you don't have any aura-based perks to start things off, and it's also good in a late, mid-game, and potentially late game if there's still many survivors, or many survivors on gens. Iron Maiden, it increases your locker search speed by 50%, and which also means your locker actions by 50% as well. And whenever a survivor enters a locker, no, so when they exit a locker, they scream, revealing the location for 4 seconds. So again, they scream, you see like a weird bubble of them, and they are exposed for 30 seconds. Again, this perk's relatively niche because, again, yeah, I get it, some survivors do go in lockers, but if you're able to catch up to them within those 30 seconds, and good on you, you get some good value from it, but really, you don't. Not many survivors really hide in lockers. Like, again, not every game. You're not going to get every game where everyone's just a little Dwight main. Not everyone's going to be hiding in lockers every single time. And yes, I'm using a common stereotype in the DBD community to deal with it. Like, the only killers that can really benefit from this perk are those who actually have to reload from lockers, such as, like, Huntress and Trickster. Again, 50% an increase in locker searching speed is really good. You can literally take it literally takes like half a second or like 1 second to reload all your hatchets or your knives, so it's relatively good. Like even perks that require you to open a locker, they can benefit from this, but really, being honest, you don't really need to. Last one, Mad Grit. It activates when you're carrying a survivor, and essentially, the cooldown you have on basic attacks when carrying a survivor, gone. You can literally just spam M1 or whatever the button is on console to like basic attack. You can literally spam it all you want. And whenever you hit another survivor while carrying a survivor, the wiggle progression for the carried survivor is paused for 4 seconds. Again, it does sound good, but again, in practice, it's just terrible. Like if you somehow always go into lobbies that always body block for the hook, which again, not many do, this perk is really good, but really, it's just not that good. You're not gonna get too much value out of it, and plus, even when you actually get the hit, you still suffer from the normal cooldown of a successful basic attack, but not a missed one. So again, not really that good, but the times where it is good, it does shine. It does shine out though. All right, the plague. Being honest, two perks really good, one not too good, so A tier. Corrupt intervention. At the start of the trial, the 3 generators located the furthest from you are blocked for 2 minutes. 2 full minutes. Which means, and survivors most likely spawn the furthest away from you, unless you're somehow unlucky and spawn right next to the killer. Just hope you, if you do, just pray you don't get found. And and this incentivizes them to go for generators that are near the middle of the map or where you are, which does cut down the time it takes for you to find survivors. However, the only downside to this perk is that if you put any survivor into the dying state while this perk is active, you deactivate it. So, again, you want to, in these cases, you want to play as killers that only go for injuring survivors and not full on downing them all right already. So, like killers like, again, the Plague, Legion, or hell, even Oni of all killers, they could benefit from this perk. Or killers that actually need to like set up, like Trapper or Hag, they benefit well from this perk too, because it gives them more time to set up their strategies, and again, make the survivors injure them, get them distracted before actually doing gens. If, but again, if you are going to be running this perk, avoid killers like Ghostface or any killers that insta down. Just steer clear from them. Dark Devotion. Yeah, this is just not a really good perk, really. But if you want to do some mega trolling or really distort survivors, go ahead, use it. Whenever the survivor, the obsession loses the health state by any means and enters the injured state, this perk activates. Your terror radius goes to the obsession for 30 seconds and is set to 32 meters. And you are given undetectable for that same duration. So, to put into perspective, I'm chasing the obsession. I injure them. They now have my terror radius for 30 seconds. I have no heartbeat. So I can just go on a rampage on all other survivors because they don't know where the hell I am and they think I'm with the obsession. It's that is the favorite wanted scenario, but if the survivors know what's going on, which be honest most of the time they do, they will be more alert. They will be more perceptive than they think you would. So again, the idea of the perk is good. It's just putting into practice is just downright terrible. Again, don't use this perk unless you just want to do a lot of distortion. Alright, Infectious Fright. Again, another terror radius based perk, but even it's still really, really good. Whenever a survivor is put into the dying state by any means, all other survivors within your terror radius will scream and reveal the locations for you for 6 seconds. This perk is a really good snowball. It can snowball into really immense potential, especially with killers like Oni. In Blood Fury, this Infectious Fright is really good with Oni, because once you down one survivor, and if you hear another one, you can go on a rampage and down that survivor you just heard. And you can keep them going until you down all 4 of them. And yes, it does promote slugging, but hey, I do not care. If you get some good value out of Infectious Fright with Oni, that is just good. That is just well played, well deserved. I will not complain. Okay, Ghostface, Ghosty. Again, 2 of his perks are really good. One is niche, I guess. Yeah. So to start off, Furtive Chase, which is being honest his worst one. Each time you hook the obsession, you gain undetectable and 5% haste for 18 seconds. Again, it sounds like a good idea, but really it's not. It's not really. Actually, it's decent. It can be good in some situations, but it's really good on smaller maps where you're able to traverse and find survivors easily. On bigger maps, it just sucks a lot. And it has the added effect, which whenever the obsession is rescued from a hook, the rescuer becomes the obsession, which it is good with some other obsession-based perks, especially with like Nemesis, where whenever you see a new obsession, they become oblivious. So Furtive Chase can work there, but really it's not really that much of a good perk. I'm All Ears, a really good chase perk. Whenever the survivor performs a rush vault action, or like a fast vault or a medium vault, within 48 meters of your location, you see their aura for 6 seconds, and it's triggered every 40 seconds. In chase, this perk is good. Because if the survivor does like a fast vault and you lose line of sight, they could bait you. They could bait you and just make a getaway. But with this perk, you can actually pick up on the mind games and just bait them. So yeah, it's again really good in chase. You just have to be careful. Actually, you can't really be careful with this perk. You just have to somehow control the chase. You somehow have to control the chase in some way. With this perk, you're almost like playing chess in some way. Like once you see what your opponent is doing, you're able to manipulate their plays in some way. But yeah, really good chase perk. I would recommend going for that one first. Thrilling tremors. Again, good information perk. After picking up a survivor, all generators not being repaired by survivors are blocked for 16 seconds. Again, these generators are highlighted in white, and it goes on cooldown for 60 seconds. Again, the cooldown may seem a bit unfair, but for the amount of information you're getting from just picking up a survivor for 16 seconds, it's decent. Like, you're able to figure out what gens are being worked on, and you're able to make an educated guess of how many survivors could be there. And, like, pairing this with discordance, you're able to figure out where survivors are. Like, imagine this. There's 3 survivors left, there's 2 gens remaining, 2 gens need to be fixed, you down one of them. You pick up the survivor, Thrilling Tremors activates. You see one generator is starting to be worked on, and there's discordance pops. You know those final 2 survivors are on that gen, or have been on that gen. So you know you can go for that generator after that. Again, really good information perk. I will never doubt it. It's just really good. I think I would like interchange it with barbecue and chili, depending if I have any aura builds. But yeah, Thrilling Gem is a really good information perk, especially with the generators. Alright, Demo Gorgon. Demo. Again, two of these perks up reasonably good. One is sort of a bit niche, but yeah, two of these perks are great. One's decent, but okay. Okay, first one, Cruel Limits. Whenever a generator is completed, every single vault location on the map is blocked for 30 seconds for survivors, and blocked locations are highlighted for you in yellow. Again, really good perk in chase. Just the only thing is, it relies on the RNG of when generators are completed. And I don't remember if multiple generators are completed if the effect stacks. I don't entirely remember. If they do, then that's broken. If they don't, fair and balanced. But yeah, decent perk in chase they can easily capitalize on. So yeah, if you want to do like a chase build based on RNG, go for it. It's decent. Well, it's alright. It's a good perk, but again, the RNG on the generator is not too good. Mindbreaker. Whenever survivors are repairing a generator, they suffer from blindness and exhausted for the entire repair duration, but as soon as they stop repairing, both effects linger for 5 more seconds. But if they are already suffering from exhaustion or blindness for like long periods of time, those timers are paused and they do not recover from this action. So an example is if a survivor has blindness for 20 seconds and exhausted for 30 seconds, they go to the generator and start repairing. It has Mindbreaker. Those 20 and 30-second timers on the 2 effects do not regress. They do not drain. They stay as they are until they stop repairing the generator. So yeah, it's a good hidden detail that I'm glad the developers actually put in, because it actually makes the perk give a lot more value, like especially with exhaustion perks. So it incentivizes survivors who actually want to have their perks ready and going and see what's going on. So it's a really good, mind breaker. I'm terrible at jokes. All right, Surge. Whenever you put a survivor into the dying state with a basic attack, all generators within 32 meters of your location explode and lose 8%. Again, 8% doesn't sound like much, but a hidden detail within the perk. Whenever that happens, survivors scream as well. I believe so, at least. Or am I thinking of a different perk? If they do scream, good. If they don't, my bad, I'm thinking of a different perk. But again, it's still good. It's it's still really good. And with the new regression mechanic of how gens work, it does actually put more work on the survivor's end. So yeah, and actually, now I think about it, it's actually an S tier. Demo's an S tier. Alright. Oni. Oh boy. I'm surprised this guy doesn't really scare me, right? Really, he actually just looks awesome. The artwork, however, is just downright badass. Whoever did the artwork, they should really get a pay raise. But yeah, Oni. Uh, one perk, like that's just terrible. One that's sort of decent. One that's good, but really it's used as a learning curve. So I would just say B tier. First of all, Blood Echo. When hooking a survivor, all other survivors who are injured, I repeat, all survivors who are injured suffer from hemorrhage and exhausted for 45 seconds. And then the perk goes on cooldown for 60 seconds. Like, is there really any situation where this would benefit the killer? Like, is there really any situation? Like, survivors who are injured will most likely want to heal. And hemorrhaging has been changed now, so most likely if the survivor were to stop healing for some weird reason, and they see this, they was like, oh wait, I might as well just keep on healing, and they just keep on healing. There's no point of having hemorrhaging. And exhaustion, there are ways for a survivor to like get rid of exhaustion. It's not really that bad. But the fact it has a 60-second cooldown for such a niche effect, it's just terrible. Nemesis, I have mentioned this when I mentioned a Furiative Chase with Ghostface, but anyone who blinds you or stuns you using a pallet or a locker becomes the obsession, and anytime your obsession switches to another survivor by any means, that survivor who became the new obsession becomes oblivious for 60 seconds, and you see their aura for 4 seconds. So what oblivious means is, you still have your terror radius, but the survivor who is oblivious cannot hear it. So like, let's say for example, like I'm near the killer shack, and I'm coming across killer shack, and a survivor is working on a generator in the killer shack. That survivor is oblivious, and he can't hear my heartbeat as I'm coming towards shack. So it's the only time he does realize I'm there is when I either hit him or he sees my red stain. So with oblivious, you force survivors to actually use their eyes and their perception to see where you could be. They can't rely on their hearing. Again, it's decent if you're able to keep on and changing your obsession. This perk can really shine, but if you really can't and you have to rely on stuns, yeah, you're just gonna have to rely on the mercy of the survivors. All right, Zanshin tactics, and I did say this perk was used more as a learning curve, so it's not really too good once you know the game, but it's good if you're like starting out. Because what this does, it's like the survivor's version of the killer's version of Windows of Opportunity. So you see the auras of breakable walls, pallets, and windows within 32 meters of you. So what that means is so you can almost predict or understand what survivors might do within chase. Like, will they vault the window? Will they drop the pallet? Will they go? Would they try and run into a wall? Or where is a wall that you could like potentially break and cut the chase? So yeah, again, it's a perk that is a learning curve. It's not really a good perk if you're gonna do it later on. But from what I've heard, apparently it's good if you're playing clown. But I am not going into that rabbit hole anytime soon. So I am not going to say anything about it. All right, the Death Slinger. Again, A tier. Two really good perks. One niche perk. First one, Dead Man Switch. After hooking a survivor, this perk activates. So within the next 30 seconds after it activates, survivors that stop repairing the generator before it's fully repaired gets blocked by the entity. So essentially, like blocked, they can't do anything. and the killer sees the generators in white. And this lasts until those 30 seconds are up. Again, this is max tier, tier 3. So yeah, it's a really good information perk. So if you have killers that are able to like interrupt survivors on generators, like maybe artists or doctors, if it just screams, or just using ultimate weapon, you can get some really good information with this perk. Or if you even have Scourge Hook Pain Resonance, which blows up a generator with the most progress, which pretty much counts as an interrupt, which activates Dead Man Switch. So really good perk, and has some good synergies. Gearhead, again, a good perk as well. After a survivor loses a health state, it activates for 30 seconds. Whenever a survivor succeeds a good skill check, just a normal skill check, you see their aura for 8 seconds. And again, within those 30 seconds, you can have multiple survivors like doing good skill checks, and you see all their auras. The only downside I would say is it's not the fact that you have to hit a survivor or that a survivor loses a health state. It's the fact that when a survivor sees the aura revealed, it could be blocked by the auras of the generators. So this perk, you have to be constantly changing your position on the map to see if you can actually get any value. That's the only downside to it. And Hex Retribution. Again, the Hex perk, the only downside is it has to be cleansed to be deactivated. But while this totem is active, cleansing or blessing any totem, regardless of whether it's Dole or Hex, survivors suffer from the Oblivious status effect for 45 seconds. But after cleansing or blessing a Hex totem, auras of all survivors are revealed to you for 15 seconds. Again, this perk is paired well with Haunted Grounds, because with Haunted Grounds, all survivors are exposed. And with Hex Retribution, if you can see them, that's some easy insta-downs right there, some easy hooks. So yeah, this perk is niche. It is good, again, with some synergies, but just the other two just outshine them a lot. So, A tier for Deathsinger right there. Alright, Pyramid Head, or the Executioner. Why can't they just like keep him Pyramid Head? Yep, C tier. Again, 2 perks, relatively like niche or just bad, and one perk that's actually really good. Alright, first of all, Deathbound. Whenever a survivor heals another survivor for 1 health state, like fully, at least outside of your terror radius, the perk activates. Whenever the survivor who is healing the survivor screams and triggers a loud notification, like you see where they are, and they are oblivious for 1 full minute whenever they are further than 8 meters away from the healed survivor. So, like for example, 2 survivors are outside of a terror radius, one of them is healing the other one, they scream, and whenever they're nowhere near that healed survivor, they are oblivious, so they can't hear my heartbeat for 60 seconds. Again, the thing is, you're rarely going to get any value out of this perks, and it just has a lot of conditions to, well, get any value of it. So, again, you're not going to really get a lot from it, and you're not going to really get a lot of value from it. I just don't use this perk at all. Forced Penance. Again, this perk only really benefits if survivors are taking a lot of protection hits, which not really a lot do, really, from experience. But survivors who take a protection hit suffer from the Broken status effect for 80 seconds. So what Broken does is, when a survivor is injured, they are able to be healed. But if they're broken, they can't be healed. They are permanently injured for the rest of the trial. Well, they're permanently injured until either time is off or for the rest of the trial if you're running a perk like, well, No Mither. I hate that perk. But yeah, only really benefits if survivors are literally swarming for body blocks, which, being honest, rarely happens. So again, you're just relying on luck at that point. Trail of Torment, really good perk. So how Trail of Torment works: when you damage a generator, you gain undetectable until the generator stops progressing. and the aura of the damage generator is revealed to all survivors in yellow. And this is actually really good, because with how gen regression is, well, how gen regression is now, you would actually be undetectable for slightly longer than you used to be when this perk was, when the gen regression was how it used to be, like the old gen regression. Because how it used to be, like, survivors would just tap the generator to stop it from regressing, and you lose your undetectable. But with the new gen regression, if you can keep survivors off the gen, and the gen is like almost full, that's almost 90 seconds of undetectable right there. And once the perk deactivates or stops regressing, it goes on cooldown for 60 seconds, which is not bad. So you're guaranteed to use this multiple times if you're able to if you're able to either keep survivors off your gens or able to actually damage multiple gens after survivors will start repairing them. So yeah, decent perk, the only decent one, only good perk out of his repertoire. Alright, the Blight. Again, two relatively good perks, one sort of niche one. Right. The first one, Dragon's Grip. Whenever you damage a generator after you damage a generator for the next 30 seconds, the first survivor who touches it screams, reveals the location for 44 seconds, and is exposed for 60 seconds. Again, this does pair well with Trailer Torments, because once you're undetectable, you can leave behind and Dragon's Grip as a trap if the survivors know you have Trailer Torment. So whenever they go touch the gen, they're exposed, you can go back and, again, punish them for what they've done. The only bad thing about this, it has an 80-second cooldown. 80 seconds. And so you rarely use this perk. And the survivors pick up of that you have Dragon's Grip, they're going to be a lot more cautious. So again, really giving away a lot, and being honest, it does feel like you might get value from it, but really, you won't. You won't get too much value from it. Blood Favor, Hex Blood Favor. Again, Hex perk, we know its weakness, but whenever a survivor loses a health state by any means and enters, well, the injured or dying state, the entity blocks all pallets within 32 meters of the survivor for 15 seconds. So whenever they are injured by lose a health state by any means, one whole terra radius worth of pallets are blocked for 15 seconds. Chasing and looping is literally nullified. Very powerful perk. Again, the only downside, it's a hex perk. You can cleanse it. But the final perk, Hex Undying, gives you a safety blanket, because whenever another hex totem is cleansed or just removed by like cleansing or blessing, that hex is transferred to the Hex Undying totem instead, and disables Hex Undying instead of whatever other hex you have. I would not, please just don't do it on Haunted Ground. But yeah, but the passive benefit is that auras of survivors within 4 meters of a dull totem are revealed to you. Like it can be good. Like it can be good for like the occasional loop and double back where there's a dull totem there. But yeah, it's decent. It's all right. Like it's all right for that. But the fact that it gives you all your hex totems a second chance, it's really good. It's really good. That's what makes them really powerful. Twins. Uh, mm, uh, C tier. Yep, C tier. Being honest, I'm sort of glad that they're getting a full rework, but the thing is, the rework is not going to be including the perks, so I'm not really too psyched about this. But the first one, Coup de Grace. Oh, again, decent perk, well, niche perk, because whenever a generator is completed, Coup de Grace gains 2 tokens, up to a maximum of 10. Oh, okay, Jesus Christ. And each, using 1 token, increases the distance of your next lunge attack by 80%. Like, a lunge attack is essentially the normal basic M1 attack, but if you hold the button long enough, you do a lunge, and you gain some distance from it. So this perk increases that lunge by 80%. Again, it's good. It's just the RNG of when a generator is completed and when you don't want to use it but you use it accidentally. It's just that RNG moment. It just really brings it down. It's not really that good. Hoarder, and so it triggers whenever a survivor performs any of the following actions within 64 meters, like unlocking a chest or picking up an item. Essentially, you see where they are, or you see a notification of when that happens. It's heavily reliant if survivors actually go for items or not, which not all the time they do. And it also spawns 2 additional chests in the trial. It's helping the survivors. So like if the survivors have Plunder's Instinct and you have Hoarder, you are giving them 2 more chests where they could have 2 more powerful items, like an engineer's toolbox or a ranger's medkit. Like this perk used to have an additional effect where items in the trial, which the rarity of the items in the trial would be lower, like common, like only like brown items, so like terrible items. Again, like either yellow or like brown items. So again, they're not really good quality. I do not know why they removed that. That actually made the perk better, really. The last one, oppression. Again, niche is just the cooldown it has is just immense. 80-second cooldown for whenever you perform the damage action on a generator, it causes 3 additional generators to also start progressing. And if a survivor is working on one of those generators, they're given a difficult skill check. Like on paper, it sounds good. In practice, it's terrible. The fact that it has a long cooldown and that survivors who are working on those randomly selected gens could just stop by getting a skill check. Again, it's not a really good perk. And plus, with the new regression events on generators, you are exhausting in your 8 regression events on generators faster than you usually would. Because now, with how generators work now, they can only go through like 8 regression events. So yeah, once that's happened, the killer can't damage them again. And so this perk is exhausting your regression events faster than you usually would without it. And so again, it's a bad idea. Don't use this. Look, I know Surge is doing the same thing, but the thing is, the Surge actually rewards you in chase. Oppression does not. Alright, the next one, Trickster. Being honest, all next, one perk is really good. Two, both, and the other two are really easy, so I'll just put them in A tier. Again, first one, Hex Crowd Control. Again, Hex perk, we know the weakness, and whenever Survivor performs a fast vault or rushed vault action, the window the Survivor vaulted is blocked for 60 seconds. For 60 seconds, survivors cannot vault that window, and it stacks. So if a survivor were to vault every single window on the map in less than 60 seconds, all those windows will be blocked until the first one starts. The first one gets timed out. So yeah, a really good chase perk in chase and could pair well with bamboozle. So again, for faster vault speeds on your end, and again, further blocking of the windows when they time out. So really good. No Way Out, one of the best endgame perks there is. And again, it incentivizes his killers to not tunnel as well. And for each survivor you hook for the first time, so for each unique survivor, you gain 1 token up to a maximum of 4. Once the exit gates have been powered, it activates. Whenever survivor interacts with the exit gate switch, you receive a loud noise notification and the gate switches get blocked for 12 seconds and for 12 seconds initially, and is blocked for an additional 12 seconds for each token you possess. So in total, it can be blocked for 1 full minute. That's right. The execute switches can be blocked for 1 full minute, giving you a chance to go for more kills, especially if there's only one survivor left and you've closed the hatch. Again, really good endgame perk when all else fails. Again, even in builds that are not specifically endgame builds, it's still really good to have that safety blanket when you know you can get the 4K. And Starstruck. Okay. Again, this perk is decent, and it really shines in situations where survivors are going to be body blocking. But really, it's just sort of decent in the first place, especially when you know survivors are close to you, you can get them exposed. So how it works: when you carry a survivor, this perk activates. Survivors within your terror radius are exposed, and it lingers for 30 seconds after leaving your terror radius, or when the perk deactivates when you hook or drop the carried survivor. It still persists for at least 30 seconds, and then goes on a cooldown of 60 seconds after that. Again, really good perk. Really good perk. It does put pressure on survivors who are working on gens within your terror radius after you carry, so it does give them that added risk of being exposed and found out, and which means it gives you a safety blanket. A safety blanket of, like, again, they're not doing your gens, and you could down them for another hook. Alright, Nemesis. Again, two perks, really good. Actually, one perk is a must-have, and the other two reasonably good. I'd say reasonably good. So I put him, again, A tier. First one, Eruption. Whenever you damage a generator, Eruption is applied to the generator, and you see the aura in yellow. And the next time a survivor is put into the dying state by any means, all generators affected by Eruption explode and start regressing. The generators lose 10% of their maximum progression, and any survivors repairing these generators scream and reveal their auras for 12 seconds. Yes, 12 seconds you see their auras. It then goes on a cooldown for 30 seconds. Again, a really good information perk. So if you manage to damage all the generators on the map, and you then down a survivor, whenever a survivor's repairing on the generator, it has to be on the generator, you see their aura. Again, this perk used to be a lot more powerful. Instead of 10% maximum progression, possible progression of the generator, it's just a flat 10% of the generator's maximum charges. But again, balance it, it's sort of better now. Hysteria. Whenever you put a healthy survivor into the injured state, all injured survivors suffer from the Oblivious for 30 seconds and has a cooldown of 30 seconds. Again, it sounds good, but if you're able to injure survivors easily, this perk really shines, but if you don't, it doesn't. Again, killers like Legion or even Wraith benefit greatly from this perk, but with Wraith, he's already invisible. You don't really need Oblivious for that. And Legion, if survivor's Oblivious, you won't be able to track them, so if Legion shoots you in the foot. But Nurse, it does help, though. It does help with Nurse. Alright. Now the best perk, and pretty much I think one of the best perks ever used is Killer, Lethal Pursuer. At the start of the trial, the auras of all survivors are revealed to you for 9 seconds. So at the start of the game, as soon as you're able to move, you can see where survivors spawn for 9 seconds. You see where they spawn and what they have done for the next 9 seconds. And any other aura reading you get is extended by 2 seconds. So really, you see survivors for the first 11 seconds of the trial. Yeah, for the first 11 seconds of the trial, you see what survivors do. And any other aura-based perk like Eruption, you can extend the aura reading timer by 2 seconds. Yeah, this perk really powerful for early game pressure and for aura reading builds. So yeah, actually because of that, I'm just gonna bump the S tier. Again, perks really damn good. Alright, Pinhead, or the Cenobite. Well, the creator never actually wanted his name to be called Pinhead, but yeah, whatever. Okay, Start off, I'd probably say A tier. Okay, first perk, Deadlock. Again, good perk, especially for denying progression. Whenever a generator is complete, the entity blocks the generator with the most progress for 30 seconds. Again, you see this generator in white. Again, so imagine this. Two generators are close to being popped, but one of them is more progressed than the other. The first one goes, and that second one gets blocked. You have 30 seconds to start going for survivors. They just start getting them injured, putting more pressure, and then once the 30 seconds are up, you can go to that generator and damage it. And the survivors can't do a lot about it then. Again, really good for stalling the game, and really good for getting you more chances of getting rid of those gens. The next one, a very annoying perk from the survivor's perspective, Hex Plaything. Whenever you hook a survivor, they become cursed and gain oblivious, and a hex totem is created. And for the first 90 seconds, since only the cursed survivor is able to cleanse that hex totem. And wait, I'm not sure if I said this before, but as long as that hex totem stands, they remain oblivious. And again, they can't hear heartbeats, and they can only see your red stain. And the aura of their totem of a survivor's hex plaything is revealed to them within like 16 meters. So for the first 90 seconds, only they can cleanse it. But after that, any other survivor can just cleanse it and do whatever. But again, you can make all 4 survivors oblivious if you manage to hook them all in time. And that's going to be a lot of funny and scary moments. Again, fun perk, really good. But it really gets Pinhead up there. Alright. The first non-terrible Scourge Hook, Scourge Hook Gift of Pain. Again, like Hangman's Trick, 4 random hooks are changed into Scourge Hooks, but whenever a survivor is unhooked from this Scourge Hook, the unhooked survivor suffers from hemorrhage and mangled for 90 seconds. And upon being healed, the survivor suffers from a 16% action speed penalty to repairing and healing until they're injured again. So, not only is it going to be difficult for them to heal, but once they do heal, they are punished for doing it. So yeah, really decent perk, and actually because I'm probably going to put him S tier. S tier. Again, it just benefits the killer in all ways through, and it just punishes survivors all way through. It's really good. Alright, the artist. Why did I do that accent? Again, one perk really damn good. The other two, one decent, and one downright niche. And because of that, yeah, it averages to a B tier at least. Okay, first one, Grim Embrace, the decent perk. Again, similar to No Way Out, every time you hook a survivor for the first time, you gain 1 token. And this token activates when you're at least 16 meters away from the hook. From tokens 1 to 3, you block all generators for 12 seconds. But at 4 tokens, you block all generators for 40 seconds, and the aura of the obsession is revealed to you for 6 seconds. Again, it sounds good, but it doesn't really sound like there's a lot of control. Again, it relies on you actually able to get those first time hooks in the first place. So if survivors being sneaky, you won't be able to get the full value. But this is already better than how it used to be, where you actually have to get 4 tokens in the first place in order to get the final effect, which it was just downright terrible. So yeah, it's a decent perk. It does like stall generators being made. So yeah, it's good in my books. All right, Hex Pentimento, very niche. Again, it's a hex totem, but the thing is, you see the aura of cleansed totems, like regardless if they were hex or dull, and you're able to rekindle these totems. And for each totem you rekindle, you gain a new effect. So at 1 totem, survivors' repair speeds are nerfed by 30%. At 2, the healing speed is nerfed by 30%. At 3, recovery speed from being downed is nerfed by 30%. At 4, exit gate opening is nerfed by 30%. And at 5, all those totems are blocked. Again, on paper, sounds good, but survivors can cleanse these rekindled totems, and you cannot light them up again. Once a rekindled totem is cleansed, you cannot rekindle them. So getting up to 5 stacks is close to impossible, because once survivors pick up on that, they are gonna make sure they do not get all those nerfs. So again, there's literally a challenge to get like all 5 stacks of Pentimento, and trust me, it is hard. Alright. Best perk from Artist, Scourge Hook Pain Resonance. Again, similar to Gift of Pain, 4 random hooks change into Scourge Hooks, and each time a survivor is hooked on a Scourge Hook for the first time, the generator with the most progress explodes and loses 25% of its total progression. And normal progression is again applied afterwards, and the survivors on that gen repairing that gen will scream, but they won't reveal the location. Because of that, perks like Dead Man Switch make a good combo, because since the survivors scream and interrupt the gen repairing, it blocks the generator for them. So again, good tracking when used in the correct synergy. So a good B tier is just the other perks drag her down. Alright, the Onryo, or Sadako Yamada, I don't know how to... Yamada Sadako or Sadako Yamada, I do not know how to say. Alright. All the perks are... Well, 2 of them are decent. 2 of them are decent, 1 really good. And because of that, A tier. Call of Brine, again, activates when you damage the generator. And for the next 60 seconds, the damage generator regresses at 125%, and you see its aura in yellow. And also during those 60 seconds, you receive a loud noise notification when a survivor hits a good skill check on that generator. So it's something similar to Gearhead and Overcharge, but it also sort of has that effect of surveillance. So it's like 3 perks in one, almost. Like, it's good, and the fact that it doesn't have a cooldown, it's also good. But it's actually, yeah, it doesn't really have any downsides. Actually, yeah, it doesn't have any downsides. Just realized, yeah. Well, it's good then. Actually, no, yeah, I'm gonna just keep it there. Yeah, okay. Again, Call O'Brien, decent perk. Like the effects are 3 perks in one, so yep, I would say that's good. Merciless Storm. Whenever a generator is repaired to 90%, survivors repairing it are faced with continuous skill checks. So if you don't know what continuous skill checks are like, if you've done the yellow glyph, you understand. But if you don't, continuous skill checks are like you complete one skill check, another one pops up immediately, and it's the same wheel, but just the skill check zones appear on random parts of the wheel, and you have to constantly get those skill checks right. That's how it works. If you miss one of these skill checks, or if you stop repairing, the generator is blocked for 20 seconds. And this effect can only be triggered on once per gen per trial. So it's good it's a good perk again to track of where certain gens are at, which ones are close to being popping or being completed. So it's again good for like information. But again, it all relies on survivors messing up that skill check. If they don't mess it up, you're not gonna get too much value. Again, it's sort of, you're at the mercy of the skill of the survivors with this perk. Alright, final one. Scourge Hook Floods of Rage. Sounds like me having a bad day, having a bad gaming session. But yeah, again, similar to other Scourge Hooks, four random hooks are now white hooks. And each time a survivor is unhooked from a Scourge Hook, the auras of all other survivors are revealed for 7 seconds. And this is way better than you think. Like, if you're in chase with someone, or if you don't know where people are, and a survivor is unhooked from a Scourge Hook, you're able to see where all the other survivors are. And it's especially good in Huntress because you can do some really cool cross map shots. And trust me, I've seen so many videos and plenty of videos of that happening, and I've literally experienced that myself as well. It's really it's really powerful, especially if you pair it with Lethal Pursuer with more aura reading time. So yeah, really good. Alright, the dredge, the dredge. Okay, one perk is really good for information. One is decent in chase, and one is just downright terrible. So B tier. First off, darkness revealed. Whenever you search a locker, the auras of all survivors within 8 meters of any locker on the map are revealed to you for 5 seconds. Yeah, for 5 seconds. And you see the auras of every single survivor on anywhere on the map that's near a locker. Really good. Especially good with killers that need to reload. It's good for them to find the next survivor. Dissolution. After injuring a survivor, for 3 seconds after injuring a survivor, it activates for the next 20 seconds. Survivors vaulting over a pallet, fast vaulting over a pallet within your terror radius, the pallet gets destroyed. Again, good, reasonably good in chase, especially on maps that are filled with pallets, like Gideon meat plants, like all the game. So yeah, decent perk, but they're just better alternatives. Septic Touch, absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. Whenever a survivor performs a healing action within your terror radius, the survivor suffers from blindness and exhausted, and that effect lingers for 10 seconds after healing action is interrupted by any means. So, being honest, that's terrible. Like, there's literally no chance, there's almost no possible time or scenario you get any value from this. It's just a terrible perk. Like, I wouldn't bother trying to get any value from it because being honest, you're not gonna get anything. Trust me. All right, Albert Wesker. If you don't know, him, he's taken from Resident Evil 5, I think, if I remember. But yeah, again, all these perks, they're all niche. So, being honest here. Awakened Awareness. While you're carrying a survivor, you see the auras of other survivors within 20 meters of your location. It sounds good, but it really doesn't. It sounds good, but the thing is, once you stop carrying a survivor, you lose that aura reading. And the fact that the survivor's wiggling and, again, sort of distorting your vision, like moving around, it's hard to keep track. Again, it doesn't really provide you with that much benefits. Superior Anatomy. Whenever a survivor performs a rush vault within 8 meters of you, your next vault is increased by 40 seconds. 40%, sorry, 40%. It then goes on a cooldown of 30 seconds after vaulting. Like, it's good for the fast vault. It's a good chase. It's a good chase perk, but the long cooldown just sort of ruins it again. Like, you don't always have to vault a window. Like, I would not recommend vaulting a window in chase unless you actually have to. So this perk is just sort of really niche. And Terminus, again, endgame perk. Like, once the exit gates are powered, all survivors that are injured, dying, or hooked suffer from the broken status effect until the exit gates are open. And once that happens, the effect lingers on for 30 seconds. Again, not good, not really good perk. Again, you're not gonna really get too much value from it. So again, can't really say it's a good perk at all. All right, the Knight. Gotta say, an A tier for me. Again, 2 perks, really good. Two perks are really good. One decent in chase if you're able to catch up. First one, Hex Face the Darkness. This perk, from my experience, is very annoying to face because once you injure a survivor, a dull totem becomes the Hex totem, and all other survivors will scream every 25 seconds they are out of your terror radius, and you see their aura for 2 seconds. And the thing is, this Hex totem can deactivate any time when the cursed survivor, the survivor that you hit to activate the totem, either enters the dying state or becomes healthy, but it's not permanently disabled. You can reactivate the totem. The totem is only fully disabled when you cleanse the totem itself. That's what makes it annoying. That's what makes this this hex so damn annoying. Like every time I see this perk, I literally rage. Like why? Can we at least try and find this totem and get rid of it, please? Because the thing is, can this totem can activate on any dull totem left on the map. So if there's like 5 dull totems on the map and it activates, it can go to one of any 5. So like your guaranteed bet to like get rid of it is to cleanse all 5 dull totems, and that just wastes a lot of time. That's that's why the Nexus perk's so damn good. Hubris. Whenever you're stunned by a survivor, that survivor becomes exposed for 20 seconds, and it has a cooldown of 20 seconds. So when you're stunned by any means, like from Blast Mine, I think a Flashlight save, and a Pallet Stun or a Locker Stun, they get exposed for 20 seconds. The thing is, if you're able to recover from that stun time fast and go for the survivor, that's some good value right there. But again, that's all dependent if you're able to catch up in time. And nowhere to hide, again, really good information. When you damage a generator for the next 5 seconds, any survivors within 24 meters of your location are revealed to you. So again, imagine this. You damage a generator, for the next 5 seconds, survivors within 24 meters of you are revealed, have their auras revealed to you. And that radius moves as you move. So if you're moving towards Shack after that, you see what 24 meters away from you, which includes Shack as well. So really good information as it's on the go. Skull Merchant. Why did they add this killer? This killer's just downright terrible. Why? You know, I'm just all the perks are just downright terrible. Game of Foot's just absolutely terrible. It relies on like chasing obsession, and when you do chase the obsession, you gain a slight haste boost after damaging a gen, a wall, or a pallet. Again, it's not. And the thing is, you change your obsession based on the amount of chase time overall when you hit a survivor. So again, it's really hard to keep track of which survivors is your obsession or not. Leverage. Whenever you hook a survivor, you gain a token, and for each token, the it for each token, it survivors receive a 5% debuff to healing for 30 seconds. And this increases up to 50% since you can increase your tokens up to 10. It sounds good, but the practice is terrible. It's just terrible. And Thwack, it's the only bad thing about it is it activates after you hook a survivor. The next time you break a wall or a pallet, survivors within 32 meters scream, reveal their aura. Sounds good, but the fact it's only a limited number of times you can do it, it's just downright terrible. Absolutely terrible. Alright, Singularity. I am not going to bother trying to say what his name is, so I'm just going to say Singularity. And I'm going to say he is a C tier. Again, Forced Hesitation is a really, really good perk. Whenever survivors put into the dying state, by any means, all survivors within 16 meters of them suffer from 20% hindered for 10 seconds. So this pairs well with Infectious Fright. Because if you down survivor within your terror radius, if they are 60 meters within the down survivor, you could easily catch up to them, down them as well. But however, the perk does have a 30-second cooldown, but that's fine. You can still use this perk to snowball into a really, really good 4K. Genetic Limits. Whenever survivor finishes a healing action, they suffer from exhausted for 32 seconds. It's not really that good, really. Because most likely when survivors finish a healing action, they're going to be far away from you. And by the time you catch up with them, their exhaustion is mostly gone. So, really, it doesn't really do a lot. Machine Learning. Whenever you damage a generator, it activates the perk. And the next generator you damage becomes compromised. You see it in yellow until it's completed. When it is completed, for 30 seconds you're undetectable and at 10% faster. Again, similar to Fire Up, you're relying on the survivors actually doing the objective and relying on yourself losing for this perk to actually work. Like, the benefits you receive outweigh like the negatives you get. So it's again not really a good trade-off right there. All right, Xenomorph, Xeno. B tier. Yeah, two perks are decent, and but one perk is just really good, and that one perk is is getting a is getting a small balance, getting a small change soon. I do not remember when, but it could be a lot different after you see this video. Okay, first of all, Alien Instinct. Whenever you hook a survivor, it activates. The aura of the furthest injured survivor is revealed to you for 5 seconds, and that survivor suffers oblivious for 20 seconds. It sounds good, but the thing is, it only does it to the furthest injured survivor. If no one's injured, this perk does nothing. That's the only downside. And if it's the beginning of the match, and you've only been chasing one survivor, it's terrible. So really, it only relies on killers that are able to injure easily, again, like Legion or Wraith, so you can get good value from there. Rapid Brutality, you no longer gain Bloodlust, but successfully hitting a survivor with a basic attack gives you a 5% haste for 10 seconds. Again, good with killers who can actually chase easily without the use of Bloodlust. Again, like Clown, maybe, like Clown and Wraith, and Nurse as well. But again, if you are a killer that has to rely on that does need Bloodlust to actually start the chases off, then again, this perk nerfs you into the ground. An ultimate weapon. Literally, this perk became literal meta ever since it got released. Whenever you open a locker, it activates for 30 seconds. Survivors entering your terror radius scream and reveal the location to you. And they also suffer from blindness for 30 seconds. And the perk goes on cooldown for 30 seconds. Oh god. Yeah, sorry about that. A small interruption, which I'm pretty sure probably did not go notice at all. But yeah, Ultimate Weapon has pretty much been meta, and yeah, really good for tracking, especially as survivors who are being sneaky and hiding in a terror radius. And let's move on. All right, Chuckster. This guy is literally annoying to face. Again, one perk, really good. The other two, relatively niche. So again, B's here. Again, first perk, batteries included. Whenever you're in 12 meters of a completed generator, you you get 5% haste within that 12 meters, and this effect lingers for 5 seconds once you leave the generator's range. Again, it relies on like like machine learning and fire up. It relies on the survivors actually doing the objective and you sort of failing your objective. You only benefit when you fail, so really, it's not really a good perk. It's not really a good idea. Friends till the end, really, really good. When you hook any survivor that is not the obsession, the following effects apply to the obsession. The obsession has the aura revealed for 10 seconds and is exposed for 20 seconds. And when you hook the obsession, a random survivor will scream, revealing their location, and become the new obsession. So again, this perk encourages not to tunnel, pretty much. This perk discourages tunneling, and rewards you for doing so. So yeah, really good perk. It's just, there is one counter to this perk, and that is one simple perk called Distortion. And that's why I use it. I'll explain what Distortion does in a later video. Alright, final perk, Hex 2 can play. Anytime you are stunned or blinded by a survivor a total of at max tier 2 times, means that the Hex activates. And whenever you are blinded or stunned, the survivors become unblind for 1.5 seconds. However, this effect does not affect carried survivors, like survivors you carry on your back. Like, this is really good, like, just as like a meme or payback for survivors who always like flashlight you and stun you whenever they can. But the best thing about this perk is that even after it's cleansed, you can actually reactivate it onto a different totem. So if you have all 5 totems, one of them activates, but then it's cleansed, you can still reactivate it on one of the other 4 totems. That's what makes this perk good. That's what also makes this perk good. Perk are good for like again like a troll perk, or just like a meme for like a meme build. but again, it's not really good in practice. And finally, the unknown. And I'm trying to remember what this guy's perk does. Yes, okay. Again, from what I've seen in his perks, again, they're not good. They're not good just for as one altogether, just for one killer, but they all could have good synergies in some builds, so I just again put them in B tier. His first perk, Unbound. When a survivor becomes injured by enemies, it activates for 30 seconds. You get a 50% haste bonus for 10 seconds after vaulting a window, but the effect cannot stack. Again, it's a worse off version of like Superior Anatomy or Bamboozle. It's the fact that you have to injure a survivor has to be injured by any means, and like it could happen at random times. It could probably happen when you're not even in chase, so it's not really a good idea. Undone, technically the best perk out of all of them. When a survivor fails a skill check while repairing or healing, you gain 3 tokens up to a maximum of 30. When damaging a generator, you consume all the tokens, and the generator instantly regresses by 1% per token of its total progression, and the generator is blocked for 1 second per token, and the damaged generator starts regressing once it becomes unblocked. So, to put into perspective, a generator at least 90% progression gets damaged by undone with 30 tokens. 30% of its total progression is deleted. It's blocked for 30 seconds, and after it's unblocked, it begins to regress. And the perk goes on cooldown for 60 seconds. Again, this perk on its own isn't that good because survivors rarely fail skill checks, especially good ones. This is only good in like again impossible skill check builds with Doctor. And then unforeseen when performing the damage when damaging a generator unforeseen is applied to it for 30 seconds. Your terror radius transfers to the generator and set to 32 meters, and during that time, you are undetectable. Again, this is sort of similar to Trailer Torment, but being honest, better. It's sort of a better version of Trailer Torment, where you don't have to rely on the generator regressing. But it's just, again, if the survivors catch on easily, they're going to be a lot more perceptive. So, yeah, like a couple of 2 perks decent in like other builds and such. One that is just downright terrible. So yeah, that is the tier list, and yeah, I'm glad I'm sort of started recording again, and yeah. So that's my tier list based on teachable perks. If you're gonna use this for advice, please do so and try and base it off your own experiences. If you have any other like disagreements or like tier list changes, put them in the comments. I can guarantee you I will read them and, being honest, either not care or probably actually make some changes later on. Maybe I might, maybe I not, and being honest, I don't really care at this point. I am not gonna uh, do like redo any of my tier lists yet, because being honest, I have a lot of stuff to do, and I'm pretty sure you do know what stuff I have to do if you do know me, and I'm willing to bet most of you don't. Alright, so that's gonna be the video, and yeah, see you in the next one. I won't tell you what it is, but pretty sure it's gonna be a tier list one or just something I just come up with. Thanks, and goodbye.